Ever since I've done the self-authoring suite and the understanding myself and all that kind of self-work that's involved with what one's sort of goals should be, alleviating suffering and moving towards meaning in their work. I've had a lot of time to think about it. And it's why I want to do this video, is because like almost every day I wake up and especially in times of like transitions between like when I'm in my car and I'm going to a workplace or I'm going to a friend's house or what have you, I'm always reminded in those times of transition that life is suffering. It just, those words come into my head, and it's like I've always known that life is suffering, through the context of which Jordan Peterson's talking about, and now those words that I've heard from him from his context, they play in my mind, and it feels like when I hear my thoughts say that to me, it feels like the only truth that I can really grab at, because I think I've had a lot of excessive suffering in my own life, like due to my own behavior. I've self-induced suffering. I guess I'm quite neurotic, and I dwell on the negative emotions a lot, but I probably thought that there's things about myself and those negative emotions that would be revealing of my character and would help me go forward. And when I'm doing something and there's a part of me uncomfortable in that doing of the thing, I'm like, oh, that's just the way it is, because life's suffering, and I shouldn't have to enjoy every single part of it. And I guess this sort of dialogue that Jordan Peterson talks about, and I've subsequently gone on to read a lot of his recommended book lists, and in reading those books, this motif, this theme keeps arriving up for me. And I guess before I did a lot of this internal work that I've been doing all the last few years, you think, oh, I'm the only one that suffers from this terrible existential pain, this heavy weight, even though and he's fine or she's fine, and they don't suffer that weight that I do. And now I look at people and I think, there's kind of two variations of that. I look at people and I think, God, like, he's living a total lie. He's pretending as if he doesn't suffer. He's going about his day as if he's got it all right. He's got the secret recipe, and he's got this smile pinned to his face that isn't particularly true, and of his internal world going on. And I have the opposite. I see people who are living in that hell, personified hell, and you can see that. And to a lot of the people that pretend like their life is really good and that they don't suffer the same as everyone else, I guess that's, I really crystallized that idea there, that like a lot of people pretend as if they don't suffer like everyone else does. And obviously some people suffer a lot more than others, and but that general suffering, which I think Jordan Peterson talks about, that feeling, it's a certain type of everyday existential suffering. That's kind of what I've been talking about here in this video, is that specific type of suffering. And whereas I would before feel that suffering, and then I'd want to quench it or get rid of it with some sort of hedonistic activity, and think I'd need those hedonistic activities to lower my suffering, to rid of it for me. And I never really would, but those hedonistic activities, like porn or whatever, or mindless YouTube watching, or social media scrolling or what have you, and they would slightly get rid of that suffering, but they never really would. And I guess when I reflected all the times that I had true meaning in my life, it was those moments that I didn't feel that suffering anymore. And now I look at my life through the lens of meaning and suffering a lot now. And at the end of when I put myself through a meaningful task, the feeling after that, it's not a really big high, but it's this lovely contentment from doing a meaningful task, meaningful that's in line with my my path. And I know I'm on the right path because that meaning that it sparks within me, and my neurosis comes down, and my over analyzing and my thinking slows down and is crystallized, and that meaning, I've had it before in my life, but now I'm touching on it more because I recognize that feeling more. And I guess one of the other reasons why I want to do this feeling is about, words are great and they can articulate emotions and everything, but I wanted to expand on what exactly that was, because I've always been the opinion that buzzwords really affect people, and obviously there's a deeper meaning beyond that, but what is that, and then those words that are used that you, or someone, words that you've read or that you've heard, you need to explore that as a feeling, and I guess I'm talking about this from an actor's perspective, because I think it's worth saying from my perspective, like, because an actor will always, what do those words feel like to have, in your psychology, and I'm starting to recognizing what's I'm starting to realize what's unnecessary suffering and what's deep, meaningful goals attained. And that navigation system within me has become very acutely aware since I've been running those concepts in my head for the last couple of months, and it's keeping me on track. I'm even more accountable for what my day-to-day, hour-to-hour interactions with people and with myself, and there's a weight on that I, one, don't like, but two, I now feel as if I wouldn't have it any other way, because I've been like that before, but I thought it was something wrong with me, that I had to be, being very precious with my time and working away on my own thing, even though it didn't fall in line with a lot of people, other people's projects or what have you. But now, running on my own system, I don't have a shame attached to that anymore, because I know it's my own truth, and there's a confidence there, because I've really thought about what meaning and suffering is to me, and especially with the literature that Jordan Peterson's recommend. I mean, I've had, it's not just this Jordan Peterson stuff that I've been interested in the last while. There's many other topics I've sort of dipped my fingers into and explored, and but those concepts have been running in the background, and this is not something I think about a lot, but I think there's always a great lesson learned, like through reading or from listening to podcasts or whatever. If you come away from it and it re-enters your mind throughout the following months, those two big concepts have been huge in my life the last few months, and have been a massive driving force for kind of everything that I've been doing. It's like I'm boiling down my decisions in my life to either suffering or meaning. And the more I think about it, the more complex those two ports, that system is in my head, and how more refined it gets, and how I can slowly reduce more suffering and slowly enter as much meaning as possible into my life. And I think in conclusion to this video, I guess what I've tried to do since really studying Jordan Peterson's work and all the self-authoring stuff and understanding me, and I'm definitely including all my acting work that I've done in the past, and that's equally as valid as these things. But I guess in conclusion, now my goal for my work and for my life is really unexcusably and going towards that meaning as much as I possibly can, and I've probably pushed the sacrifice thing to really try to go for that meaning and to come closer to it, because what I'm saying is behind that meaning there's a depth there, you know, that's revealing itself to me in its fullest exposure for the first time. And I like making these videos because I think I'm giving some value, and I'm not quite sure exactly what that is yet, but the more I do it, the more I know that that I've got to say something through my lens. Anyways, hopefully that was helpful to you, and if you like the videos, subscribe to the channel and drop me a like or a comment. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks very much.